We're here!
Yay. Is anyone else here? That's the question.
Oh, you know what Nick is? He's putting a little panda bear in the chat.
Yay.
I see it.
I don't actually know how much the lag is. But yeah, let us know if you can hear us, if the sounds are okay. I'm going to turn off this music now.
And I just tweeted that we're live. So I should retweet that from my account.
Sweet, levels are good.
Levels are good. I like it, I like it, I like it.
Yay.
So hello everyone. I'm sorry, I'm tweeting and talking, two things at once. That's talent right there. I had kind of promised a potential bonus episode talking about my very first play of Twilight Imperium, and as I approached that, I realized that I've listened to podcasts in the past where it was just one person talking, and for some subjects that works really well, but when it comes to board games, I feel like one person by themselves often isn't as compelling to listen to, and I guess I'm judging myself in that regard. I didn't think that I could create something interesting enough on my own. Who knows? But so I asked Ambie if she would be willing to do this with me instead, and we could kind of just discuss my first play of Twilight Imperium, her past experiences with the game, and anything else that strikes our fancy. And it doesn't have to be all Twilight Imperium either. We may talk about some other games we've been playing, or gaming over the holidays. We may take some questions from chat if you all have anything that you want to ask us. So if you do have questions, throw them in the chat. That doesn't mean we'll answer them now or ever, I guess, depending on who shows up, you know. But yeah, so Ambie, how is your day going? We should, you know what, I'm going to steal something from Great Way Games, and I'm going to do a mental check-in before we get into the subject matter. And because I love that part of their podcast, and I think it's a nice little way to give people an idea of how we're feeling in general.
Well, my day's okay. I just got home from work. I started a jigsaw puzzle that I got from Secret Santa at work. It's a Disney jigsaw puzzle, stained glass, and the pieces are transparent, so it's really cool.
What?
Yeah.
That does sound cool. I'm not much of a puzzle person, but that sounds neat.
Yeah, I didn't think I was a puzzle person, but last year we did a jigsaw puzzle at work, and then I was doing it a lot and really enjoying it, so I guess I am a puzzle person.
Okay. Well, that's neat. Well, I want to see a picture of it when it's done, because that sounds cool. Mm-hmm. I've been home from work now for about an hour and a half. Work was uneventful today. Last night I downloaded Stardew Valley for the first time, which a lot of people really like, and I've never played. I got a Nintendo Switch for Christmas, so I downloaded it for the Switch. And so I was like playing it on my lunch break at work, which is just awesome. I can play Zelda or Mario or whatever at work. The Switch is super cool. I'm loving it quite a bit thus far. But yeah, Stardew Valley is fun so far. I'm only like a handful of days in now, and I feel like I don't know what I'm doing at all. But I planted some parsnips and I talked to some people and it rained. That's like all that's happened so far. So
I've never played that either, but I do want to get a Switch.
You know what, it's funny because we only got our Wii U 2 years ago. Like, we were late adopters to the Wii U, and when Nintendo, before the Switch was announced, back when it was called, what was it called? NX or something was like the code name or code letters, I don't know, whatever it was. People were talking about how it was going to be like a handheld or like a travel device and a console. And I was like, I have a 3DS and I have a Wii U. I just can't see myself needing the Switch. And now that I own one, forget the Wii U, forget the 3DS. I don't want to game on anything else anymore because the Switch is just so good. So yeah, I hate that I love it so much. And I hate that I need to buy another copy of Breath of the Wild now, which I do. And anyone who says otherwise to me is wrong, because I don't want to play it on my Wii U anymore. I just want to play it on the Switch. So I have to buy a second copy of the silly game, which I may have already done, and it's kind of on its way to me. So that's a thing that happened. I don't know if we have anybody else in the chat other than Nick, but shout out to Nick because he's awesome and in the chat right now. And we are going to be uploading this video to YouTube at some point after the broadcast. So if you are watching this after the fact on YouTube, hello to you, awesome Blitzketeer. Shout out to you for watching us when we're not live, even though this is live now. Also, shout out to Star Trek. I'm wearing my Terok Nor shirt because it's the 25th anniversary of Deep Space Nine today, and that's exciting. I know people who aren't Trekkies won't know what that means, but it's very cool. And also, I can't believe it's 25 years old.
I still haven't seen much Star Trek, so sorry.
No, you're in the majority in that regard. Most people haven't seen much Star Trek, aside from some of the newer movies and stuff like that. And, I mean, if I was going to tell somebody to watch only one of the Star Trek series, Discovery aside, because Discovery, I think, is a really good starting point for new people, because it doesn't, there's no barrier to entry, and there's only half of a season right now, so it's easy. But if you were going to go back to one of the older ones, Deep Space Nine, hands down, is the one that I would recommend, and it is my favorite. And that's having just watched the entire thing for the first time earlier this year, and I can't believe it took me that long, because it's the best. Like, a lot. Okay, so I've dilly-dallied enough, I suppose. We should get to the subject at hand, which is Twilight Imperium. I think the board game internet kind of lost its collective mind back before Gen Con when Fantasy Flight... Oh, hey, and our friends from Meeple Overboard, who are another board game podcast that's based out of Vegas, where I live, are in the chat. So, hello! They're awesome. But yeah, I think when Fantasy Flight announced that this was happening, everybody kind of had that moment of, holy cow, it's really happening. Because for years and years, people had been, putting it on their prediction lists that there was going to be a new edition of TI4 or, Twilight Imperium, and then it just didn't happen. It didn't happen. And so I think people had kind of been like, maybe it's never going to happen. And then it did. So you have played the 3rd edition of Twilight Imperium before,
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
How many times have you played it? Because you guys used to own it, if I remember
Yeah, we
correctly.
used to have it. I'm not sure exactly, because the first time I played was before I started logging plays. But I have 5 plays logged.
Okay, so you've played it probably between 5 and 10 times?
Yeah, probably like 6 or something, I don't know.
6? Oh, okay. But you've got a decent number of plays under your belt, so you're at least, you're real familiar with the 3rd edition of the game.
Well, the last time I played it was in 2015, so it's been a while.
So it's been a little while. Is there a particular reason that you all culled it from your collection and or stopped playing it? Or is it just...
Yes, it's because we discovered 18XX.
Okay.
So and TI3 used to be Toby's favorite game. Toby's my husband. And we used to play it like at his birthday every year or on New Year's every year or sometime every year. And then after he discovered 18XX, that replaced it completely.
Which is interesting because I feel like generally 18XX and TI of any edition tend to generally appeal to different types of gamers overall. But I guess they're long, they're epic, they have a lot of moving parts. So there are some similarities there that I guess people wouldn't necessarily see at face value.
Yeah. Like, he didn't like the dice, I think, in TI. And so, yeah, it's like the long, epic game experience. And so now if he wants a long, epic game experience, he'll play 1817. And then, so we weren't playing TI3 anymore. And we actually sold it to one of our friends who still really likes it. Before we knew TI4 was coming out. Otherwise, he probably would have bought TI4 instead.
Right. That makes sense. And so, yeah, so it wasn't that you guys disliked Twilight Imperium. Yeah. You just moved on to something you liked more, basically. Okay, that's cool. And for me, like, I'd never played it and had always kind of been interested in it. And especially because Roy Cannaday of Epic Gaming Night, I kind of consider him to be my game doppelganger in some respects. Like, he's he likes very thematic games. He likes chucking dice. And he and I tend to enjoy the same games. Not always, like it's not 100%, but Twilight Imperium 3rd edition was his favorite game of all time. It was number 1 on his list. And so the fact that I hadn't played it and he really loved it was like, it's weird that one person's like of the game is what was influencing me, but I was like, man, if Roy likes it that much, I have to play it. And so I finally got around to it. Beginning of December, my buddy Scott had wanted to play the new edition for his birthday, and so he got a group of us together, and our play was 5 people. It took 5.5 hours, which, considering 3 of the 5 had never played the game before, I have heard that's pretty good. The new edition, I've heard, plays a little faster than the older edition, but again, my experience is just limited to a single play of 4th edition only, so I don't have anything to compare that against in my own mind. But for Scott and Steve, who had both played it many times previously, they said it felt more smooth than plays of the old edition. And I actually recorded some like audio clips, some voice memos on my phone during the game, and not all of them turned out great, but like a couple of them kind of did, and you'll have to tell me whether it comes through or not, but I might try playing. They're short. Like the first one, so I recorded one after round 1 of the game. I'm going to play it near my microphone, and we'll see if that comes through. If it doesn't, you can say stop, and I'll just kind of tell you what it said. But it's interesting to hear, so this one, to give some context, after the very first round of the game, I talked for about a minute, and I talked with my friend Joe, who was sitting next to me, and he and I, obviously being next to each other, we were potentially going to clash, and Joe and I play a lot of games like this together, so I thought it would be neat to get his thoughts on it. So I'm going to see how this works. I'm going to turn up the volume, and we'll do this.
A skill. And the skill.
All right, so I'm here. We're starting round 2. Keep talking. You're fine. I don't care. We are starting round 2 of Twilight Imperium 4th edition. I am playing the X-Cha Kingdom. I'm sure I pronounced that incorrect. My neighbor Joe here is playing the Barony of Letnev. And I don't know, Joe, are the Barony and the Kingdom going to be friends or enemies? What do you think after round 1?
We'll see how it goes.
That's probably a guarantee that we'll be enemies, but that's okay. Joe and I, we have experience. We've played Star Trek Ascendancy and some other 4X games together. We've played Rex, so we have some experience in this universe. I don't think I'm doing well at this point. I feel like I didn't have enough resources to produce things the first round, and I don't know if that's as a result of a mistake I made or not a mistake I made. It just feels like I didn't get as much done in the first round as I would have liked. So I suppose we'll find out how that goes, and I'll report in later.
So that, I guess it was okay audio-wise. Like, yeah. Oh, Nick said he could hear it. You could hear it. So yeah, prior to the game, I had done some prep work to kind of get myself up to speed so I didn't come in blind. I had watched a couple of different tutorial and learn to play videos online, although it seemed like there wasn't a ton yet, at least not at the beginning of December. The game had only been out, had only hit retail, like I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks before that. I could be mistaken, but I think it was November. And it seemed like most of the people who got it at Gen Con maybe weren't big content producers, so there weren't a lot of tutorial or how to play videos on the 4th edition yet. So I watched what I could find, and then I went on Board Game Geek and read some information in the forums, kind of stuff about like which races were good for new players. It didn't end up mattering because we kind of picked, like, I was the last one to choose other than the people who'd played before, and I had limited options, but I wanted to be the Space Lions, the Hakan, and I didn't get to be the Hakan, so I don't know, and it's XXCHA. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I don't know that one. No. My favorite's the Jolnar, the technology people.
Okay. Yeah, and they all seem to have really cool abilities in different ways, and it's hard to know what I want to do best, but I ended up being the Space Turtles. So I'd also printed out some references for myself. I knew that the game was big and sprawling and we were going to be at a really big table. So I went ahead and printed out each of the strategy cards, like on a piece of paper. Again, from Board Game Geek, some people had uploaded files as references that were really helpful. So that way I knew all of the strategy cards. I could reference my piece of paper and see what they said and what they did. And then I also printed out just basically a round and turn order guide so I could remember the steps of each round and turn. I kind of wish I had a reference regarding the objectives, which obviously different objectives come out each game, but I was finding it difficult to remember what objectives had come out, and they were on the opposite side of the table, so I had to keep running around the table to like check. I was like, wait, what is that thing again? And I messed up one objective fairly early on. I believe it was have ships in or around 8 different planets. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm almost there. I'm going to do it. And then I thought I did it, and I was about ready to claim it. And then I realized ground troops are not ships. Those are different. And I had stuff around 8 different planets or on them, but not ships. So I was like, I'm going to claim a thing. Never mind. I'm not claiming a thing.
Aww.
So that was a little awkward. I had trouble getting trade goods, which I'm not quite sure. I think it was just me I don't know. I picked strategy cards poorly, I think. Nick suggested some how to plays that have come out probably since then. So that's cool and helpful. But yeah, so I've played Rex before, so that's interesting to note because this is not the first game that I've played in the Twilight Imperium universe. Rex, for those who aren't aware, is a game that is a re-theme of the older board game Dune, and the Dune license was no longer available, and so Fantasy Flight took their Twilight Imperium world and put it into Dune to make it Rex. So I had at least, and what's funny is when we played Rex, I took the rulebook and actually read through a bunch of the lore of the world because I was trying to kind of like get myself into it. And I don't remember much of it. It didn't stick. And I think that's kind of part of the reason why I enjoyed Twilight Imperium, but it is not going to supplant Star Trek Ascendancy for me as far as 4X games go. And like, that's not to say that Star Trek Ascendancy is a better game. I think it's a better game for me. And they're both great games, and I think most people would agree with that who have played both. But Star Trek Ascendancy is better for me because of the theme. Like, the Star Trek theme, if you couldn't tell, is a big deal in Crystal World. And when I play Star Trek Ascendancy, I have a connection to each of those races and ships and events and planets. Like, I know the backstory of all of those locations, so it feels more real to me when I'm playing it. And so even though the games mechanically are kind of similar in a number of ways, like battles are pretty much just dice chucking, see who wins kind of stuff, I enjoy Star Trek Ascendancy more. And I know that Roy Cannaday, I think, is not a Trekkie, so that might explain why he and I don't match up in that regard. But you have not played Star Trek Ascendancy, is that right?
That is correct. I have not.
Do you have any interest in playing it? You can say no, and it's okay.
Maybe a little. Not really. I don't know.
Because, like, 4X games aren't really your thing, right? Like, I know you're not necessarily against them, but...
I mean, I'll play it if, like, everyone wants to play that, but it's not, like, on my list of games.
Well, and right.
Play, so, yeah.
And if it's not on your list and it's a long game, which Star Trek Ascendancy is, then I imagine it's less likely to potentially happen. Because I would be curious to hear, like, your thoughts on it, only because I know that you're not a Trekkie either. So, like, it's hard for me to know if my picking Star Trek over TI4 is entirely because of the theme or so Nick says he thinks Star Trek Ascendancy works better with a smaller player count and TI4 works better with more, and I think that's accurate.
Wasn't Star Trek just 3 players?
Yes, the base game of Ascendancy is 3 only, not 2, not 4, just 3, which was weird. And I think the game has suffered from the fact that the first 2 expansions, which were supposed to release literally like 2 or 3 months after the base game, ended up not releasing until more than a year later. So I think people who went, oh, that game sounds interesting, but I don't want to play with 3, or I don't want to be like have to play with 3. So I'm going to wait for the expansions to come out. And then they didn't for a really long time. I think Gale Force 9 kind of lost some steam because of that. And so people who may have picked it up and tried it haven't. And people should try it because it's awesome. And I want them to make more expansions. Please, Gale Force 9, if you happen to be watching this, I will take all of the expansions and all of the races. I want the Dominion. I want Andorians. I want more. All of it. Like just lots and lots of stuff. And I have the Borg expansion, but I haven't played it yet. And it makes me sad that I haven't played it yet. So in case, I guess I should even say for people who are like, 3, that sucks. So when you buy the first 2 expansions, which are the Cardassians and the Ferengi, it expands Star Trek Ascendancy to 4 and or 5 players respectively. Then the Borg expansion, which came out just a couple of months ago, or maybe less than that now, can actually take the game down to 2 or even 1 player. So if you have all 3 expansions, the game can go anywhere from 1 to 5 players, which I think is a much more friendly player count. I don't know how the solo or 2-player experiences go yet, but I am really interested to try them out, because I think in the 3-player game you sometimes end up with the problem that you end up with in a lot of 3-player games, where it's 2 people ganging up against the person who happens to be in the lead, and I don't enjoy that experience always. But I know I'm talking about Star Trek. I've got Star Trek on the brain today.
Back to Twilight Imperium.
Back to Twilight Imperium.
But yeah, I think at least with TI3, the best player count was 6, I heard.
I believe I've heard that for 4th edition as well, or at least like 5 or 6.
I think people like even numbers. I forget why.
I mean, I would imagine possibly for a similar reason, in that, like, especially if you're going to make alliances with people, it can be a little more equal. Yeah, you don't end up with somebody kind of on the outskirts, either above everyone or below everyone, because that's not fun when like everybody else is in an alliance except for you. Yeah. I mean, assuming you're not winning. If you're winning, then it kind of makes sense. But that's the thing. If you're winning, in theory, somebody else should be hitching their wagon to your train and riding along, I think. But so yeah, like the early rounds of the game were like, I wasn't doing horrible, but I wasn't doing great. And I think so I have 2 other audio clips that are actually like good enough to listen to. So I recorded one that is a little less than 2 minutes long in the middle of the game, and we'll play that and then I'll respond to that.
So we are a few rounds into the game, and the Federation of Sol and the Universities of Jolnar are duking it out. Basically, the humans are getting stomped on. But the humans control Mechatol Rex right now. Isn't that right, Scott?
Yes.
And they say damage, correct?
So,
until the end of the round.
The end of the round when they get repaired.
it's a lot of ships that are moving in over there.
I guess I'm gonna... Lots of them.
So Steven's got the 2 that are fighting.
The current scores right now, Jolnar is in the lead with 6 points. Sol has 5. I have 3. And then we've got 2 and 1 respectively for the last 2. It's a 5-player game, but I think that there could be some movement amongst those ones below me. I have a feeling it's not going to go well for me soon, but I suppose we'll find out.
I can mark both of them.
Joe, so you and I, we had a little tiff earlier. That didn't go well for me, did it?
You invaded me.
I mean,
defending myself.
you do make a good point. I mean, those planets though, they just looked so tempting.
Joe
it was
left
hard,
like 2 planets.
I couldn't help
like,
myself.
undefended.
So, it was a very nice Venus flytrap that you caught me in there. I retreated hastily. just like, I don't know if that's, I mean, I'm a turtle. I feel like that seems thematic. So,
You need a paddle.
well,
I'm going to bombard the...
I think I'm going to earn a couple points at the end of this round, so I should be up to 5 at that point. So I am not doing the worst, which,
so I guess
I figured I'd suck completely, and I don't. So I don't expect to win, especially since a couple of these guys have played this game before, and those are the 2 that are in the lead. So that makes sense. But we're having fun, and we'll see how it goes.
So it is potentially important for me to note that I was having a lot of doubts about myself and my ability to play this game, and I don't know if that's just because I had built it up so much in my head that I didn't think I could live up to my own expectations. And it did not help that one of the players in the game, the only player that I was not familiar with prior to this game, he was my friend Steve's roommate. I had never met him before, and we did not know each other. And early in the game, he got a little bit verbally aggressive toward me. Nothing that fell outside of the confines of the game, but just that seemed a little more antagonistic than was necessary, and to a point where it made me somewhat uncomfortable. And that could just be my personal feelings, but he had chosen to go one way on the map and not another. And when I started to move my stuff toward that other stuff that he didn't go to, and this is not direct quotes because I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of, "You better not do that, you're going to regret it." And stuff like that within a game can be fine, but I kind of thought he was joking, or whatever, trying to be "Oh, you're going to regret that." And I was like, "Okay, haha." And I kept going to move my stuff, and he was kind of like glaring at me a little and acting a little bit intense, to the point where I decided to make a suboptimal play in the game for the sake of not creating tension. And I don't know if that was the right decision or not, either for life or for the game. But it kind of sucked because I knew that what I was doing within the game was fine and was allowed. Mm-hmm. But because I didn't know this person, I didn't want to create a situation that would potentially ruin the experience for everyone, especially my friend Scott, whose birthday it was. So I kind of backed up my turn a little bit and moved my ships back and chose to go a different route. Whether that was beneficial for me or not, I really don't know, because I'm not familiar enough with the game to understand how the different decisions would have affected things. But it kind of bummed me out because it lessened my first experience of Twilight Imperium. And I don't regret what I did for the sake of the game experience overall, but I kind of wish I had stood up for myself a little bit more. But just not knowing what would have happened or who he is and what he's like, I just didn't want to create that tension within the game. So I think that did contribute to me not enjoying the game as much as I could have, but I still enjoyed the game. So that speaks highly of the game, I think, in and of itself. The final scores ended up being so Steve, who was, oh gosh, which one was Jolnar and which one was Soul? It was Jolnar and Soul, or Scott and Steve, but I can't remember who was who. Steve ended up having 11 points because he got 2 as his last thing. And then Scott had 6 points. I had 5, which I literally had at the middle of the game. And then it only ended a couple rounds later, I think, because Steve kind of ran away with it. And then, we had the other 2 players were less than me. So I was I was tied for second. Scott might have lost a point. I think I tied for second place. You know what? Hey, this is what the BG Stats app is good points for. Ooh. Yes, because if you make there's oh gosh, they're not called trade agreements in Twilight Imperium. When you make it a pact with another player, it's trade agreements.
Trade.
whatever. When
Is
you're
it
making
trade?
an agreement, it's trade agreement in Star Trek Ascendancy.
It's trade something.
Let's see
I think.
here. We're gonna look this up. What the final scores were. But anyway, so if you make one of the specific agreements with somebody, you each instantly get a victory point. But then
okay.
I
think that's new.
If you attack them, or if you like enter a system, PAX. Maybe it's PAX. That might be right, Nick. I don't know. I've only played once. So, yes. So yeah, Scott and I both had. Oh yeah. So it was 10. Wait, no, he had 11. I'm pretty sure he had 11. I might have tracked this wrong. Oh gosh, my whole year in tracking. So it's a sham.
Can't trust any of your stats anymore.
I can't. And then yeah, Scott and I had 5. Justin, who was Steve's roommate, had 4, and then Joe had 2. Which Joe is a really, really like super talented player. I play games with him a lot. And it's so funny because his strategies do tend to be like he either runs away with the game or he's in dead last. And I love playing with him because he's really fun and unpredictable in like a good way. So that's neat. But so yeah, I think I did well considering. I mean, admittedly, we had half as many points as first place, but I was tied for second, so I didn't completely screw it up. So I actually interviewed Scott, who did not win the game, who tied for second with me, but it was his birthday, and he was the one who set up the game. And so I kind of interviewed him about what his thoughts were on Twilight Imperium 3 compared to 4, and how he liked 4, having played it for the first time. So, oh, yeah, they're called packs, and Nick said you can trade them to others once you have them without their permission. And that is a neat aspect of Twilight Imperium that Star Trek definitely does not have, because in Star Trek, the trade agreements are very much like you and another player trade your cards, and then as soon as one of you attacks the other one of the cards has to go back, and then the other one will come back automatically because nobody's going to leave it. But yeah, let's listen to the post-game interview.
The pack sounds like a new thing in TI4, because I don't think that's in TI3, yeah.
Oh, okay. Or maybe it was in an expansion for TI3.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that they said was added in that used to be in the expansions. And there's one thing specifically that did not get added in that Scott was kind of missing, which we'll hear about here in this interview with Scott.
All right, Scott. So this was your birthday wish, so to speak, was to play Twilight Imperium 4, which just released not too long ago. Did it live up to the hype?
Yes, it did. It is, as a person who I think I have 5 games of 3rd edition, I own the game and the 2 expansions. They were all my copy. So 5 games of 3rd edition under my belt. This is definitely a faster, it's a lot tighter put together.
Okay, so you would say if people haven't played Twilight Imperium before, would you say that they should just jump straight into 4th edition?
Oh, yes. If you don't have a copy or either have always kind of wanted one, and like, should I get third because they're cheap on the market or not like that, I would say get 4th. I'll default to something Quinn said from show. They said if you're going to play maybe once every other year, get a cheap copy of 3rd with the expansions. If you're going to play once a year or more, get 4th edition.
That's not a bad point. And you said that there was only one piece from the expansions in the 3rd edition that you felt like you kind of wished was here, but maybe that will be eventually?
It's one little thing, and it's the representatives for the politics phase that you could send with the assassins and the bodyguard. It added an element of much more of a personalized palace intrigue and stuff like that to a story. One of the first major times I played it, again, Steve was there, was for my birthday in 2014, I want to say. We had a politics round.
Okay. So he's just going to tell a little story about an experience he had with a previous game. We don't have to listen to that. But yeah, that's another interesting point about Twilight Imperium that I really liked is that oh gosh, and my brain is now not working for anything. The phase that only happens once somebody controls Mechatol Rex, where you do vote on the agendas. Yes, the politics phase, or whatever it's called. I thought that was really interesting, and I don't think we got to explore the best parts of it because just basically whichever ones came up for us weren't super interesting, just by chance. And I had done the thing where you get to look at the top two and then either put them on the top or the bottom of the pile. And at one point I put one on the top because it sounded interesting. And then when we got to it, I was like, oh, this isn't as interesting as I thought it would be. So I think that concept and that idea is the agenda phase. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, agenda, yeah. Also,
those agreements we were talking about called promissory notes. I can't remember a darn thing, apparently. Thank you, Nick, for giving us all the terminology that I'm missing. And, but yeah, I think the agenda phase is really, really interesting. I just wish that we had gotten to do a little bit more of it. And Mechatol Rex got controlled fairly early, so it's not like that was the reason. I just think the ones that we drew weren't, like, they weren't a lot of game-changing rules. They were more of the one time this thing just happens right now. Like, oh, all of the wormholes are instantly connected kind of stuff, which is interesting, but not, like, I like the ones that change the rules, I think, a little better. Okay. So was that all kind of similar in TI3? Oh,
that was another change from TI3. The agenda phase was one of the, what's it called? The actions you take?
Oh, oh my gosh. I have it written down because I knew I was going to forget. It is the strategy cards.
Strategy cards, yeah. So someone takes that and draws 2 agendas and one of those other cards, and then they pick one to vote on, and then everyone uses their planet influence to vote then.
Okay, yeah, because we still used our influence to vote.
Mm-hmm. Does influence get used up?
So what's interesting is you use influence during the main round, and then when the agenda phase happens, you get all of your stuff back and can spend all of it again, basically.
Oh, okay.
And then it refreshes again.
Yeah, because in TI3 you had to save it. Like, if you didn't have it used, or if you had used it for producing, then you wouldn't have it to vote.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think I in theory, just hearing the description, I think I like the way TI4 does it better. Because
I think a lot of people said that.
Well, and it made a difference. Yeah. Although I will admit that I guess it's, in a way, it's a little bit luck-based, or based on which planets end up near you, because the amount of influence you get is based on what planets you control. And if the planets you happen to control contain less influence, then you obviously have less power. But it did make for interesting decisions when, like, we would be voting on something and the last person had a whole ton of influence and we knew what they wanted to do with it. And we were like, well, I guess it doesn't
Everyone
matter.
has to team up, though. Everyone else has to.
And we got to vote on, we always voted on 2 different agendas. So it was interesting in that, like, how much influence do you spend on the first agenda, not knowing what's coming for the second one.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, so you had all of your influence, but you had to divvy it up between the 2. And then, like, if you saved some of it and the second one was something you didn't care about at all, it was like, darn it. Like, so I know we have a couple people in chat. If anybody else has questions about my experience with TI4, I'd be happy to answer some questions. But basically, the gist of it is I enjoyed the game. Because I like Star Trek Ascendancy so much, I think it would be hard for Twilight Imperium to jump up really high on my list of all-time games, which doesn't really exist, but kind of does in my head, just because they are similar, and I like Star Trek so much more. So I would definitely be willing to play TI4 again, which I guess is a good thing, considering we're definitely doing that in July. I am actually hoping to play it again before that point, because I'd really like to dive into it a little bit more before we play it in July. But we're going to be playing it with Nick, who's in the chat, and that's super exciting because Nick is awesome. He is one of our patrons, and he's been a supporter of us from, I think, probably right from the beginning, if I remember correctly, or as soon as he discovered us, and he's basically the best. And we got to meet him at Dice Tower Con last year. We got to meet a lot of people. I'm really amped for Dice Tower Con already. It's January, and I'm like, is it July? I'm very excited. Do you have anything else that you want to say about Twilight Imperium?
Oh, does TI4 still have, like, the flavor text on the back of each card or race?
Yes, they do have flavor text on the back. I did not really read mine.
Oh, okay. Because I would always read mine at the beginning and then be like, oh, I wanted to get back to Mechatol Rex because blah, blah, blah.
I do like doing that in games, like making up thematic reasons for why I make decisions, but I think I was so paranoid about getting the game right that I was like not reading any of the flavor text. I was like, no, I'm just going to do the game stuff and wait, what was the objectives again and all of that jazz. But giant stories on the back of the races. It's like 6 to 7 paragraphs, Nick said.
Yeah, I really like the flavor text of Twilight Imperium.
And I read a whole bunch, like I literally read pages and pages when we played Rex, and I know that it's the same world and the same races, so I think I got some of it at that point, but I'm flailing about, by the way, a whole lot, and I don't know why, so just anyone who's watching this after the fact or watching it right now, woo! I'm excited, apparently. So that's TI4. We don't have to end this now. We can talk about some other stuff theoretically. I do have a couple of things that I wanted to make sure I mentioned. If you are watching this live or watching this soon after it gets posted to YouTube, which will likely happen soon-ish, but I'm not going to promise anything because that's going to be Ambie doing that, and there's no rush, obviously. But tomorrow, January 4th at noon Eastern, the annual Kickstarter for the Dice Tower is going live. We are part of the Dice Tower network, and so while the Kickstarter technically has nothing to do with us directly, we obviously do have a vested interest in the network, or in the Dice Tower in general, being able to continue to make all of the content they make, especially because Tom has made a concerted effort over the past couple of years to increase the diversity of the contributors on the network in a really cool way. And we were part of that, and which we greatly appreciate. And I think especially Mandy and Suzanne coming on and hosting the Dice Tower podcast every other week has been absolutely wonderful. And I read on Twitter today that there are some people, I don't know how many, who have said that they are specifically not going to support the Dice Tower's Kickstarter because of Mandy and Suzanne being part of the channel. And that makes me real mad in a way that is kind of hard to quantify into words. But Mandy and Suzanne are awesome, and their content is great. And the Dice Tower being more inclusive and diverse is only going to lead to great and wonderful things. All of that being said, I would just highly suggest anyone watching this video in January of 2018, please go to Kickstarter, search for the Dice Tower, and if you have any money that you can throw their way, do it. Again, that money does not have anything to do with us. Really, even though we're part of the Dice Tower network, we're not part of the Kickstarter. We're not involved with the Kickstarter. But I personally think that they deserve to continue making content in the way that they want to, and they've been doing a really good job of it. Sorry, I'm rambling. Ambie, would you like to contribute anything in that regard?
I got to look at their Kickstarter page today. That was cool.
Ooh, preview.
There's a lot of cool things.
Yeah, it does. We are not at liberty to spoil stuff, but some of those promos look pretty awesome, and some of them are for games that I really like. So I am going to be tempted by a number of those. Mm-hmm. So what have you been playing lately, Ambie, that you would want to mention?
Nick says, "Is there interest in non-space 4X games? I know Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea is getting a lot of buzz."
I don't know. I actually have, it's a small group saying that, expecting to leave and go better this year. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, sorry. Well, to not jump topics too much. So Nick is saying that the people talking about Mandy and Suzanne in a negative way are obviously a small group. And that is true. I think the vast majority of people are awesome and supportive. But I think that the negative people do tend to be pretty vocal. So I just want to make sure that the people who do support the Dice Tower being more inclusive and diverse should also be more vocal. And if you see somebody saying something crummy about anybody, this isn't even limited to this situation specifically, but if you feel like you can, speak up and say, hey, that's not cool. Don't do that. Don't be a jerk. And yeah, so then Nick was talking about non-space 4X games. I don't think I've ever played a 4X game that isn't set in space, at least not that I can recall. So I would be curious to try Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea. That does sound interesting. Mm-hmm. Ambie, you're making a face.
No, I'm trying to think it too. Sorry. That's my thinking face.
I mean, that's kind of what it looked like.
But yeah, I don't think I've played a non-space 4X. I don't think I've played that many 4X games, though, so I'm not much of a 4X gamer, I guess.
I actually haven't played a lot of 4X games either, even though I say I like them. I haven't played a lot. I mean, it's not like there are tons and tons of them either, so it's definitely a genre that I have enjoyed immensely in the past.
What other games are 4X? I can't think of examples right now.
Tiny Epic Galaxies,
yeah,
Forbidden Stars.
Haven't played that.
All the ones that come to mind are space themed for me. And so there might be 4X games. Oh, Eclipse. Maybe that's what I meant by instead of...
Okay.
I wonder if I meant Eclipse instead of Forbidden Stars. Is Forbidden Stars 4X?
I kind of get them too. I haven't played either.
All those space games. And see, this is why Star Trek resonates with me so strongly, because everything else kind of blurs together, at least in my head. I know I'm not representative of everybody, but like Star Trek is special and unique for Crystal. And I don't know why I'm referring to myself in the third person. But it resonates with me in a way that other stuff doesn't. Forbidden Stars is real close to 4X, might be 3X. Okay. Yeah, I think that one's less confrontational. So maybe the exterminate part of 4X is less present in Forbidden Stars. I feel like I know some things.
3X is basically 4X for large values of 3.
There you go. That makes sense. Yeah. So let's see, other stuff that I wanted to talk about. Reminder for anyone watching live or within the next day, we are taking our holiday hiatus for the podcast. So we have no episode releasing on the podcast feed tomorrow, January 4th. But hey, you know what? You can go over to the Dice Towers Kickstarter and spend some time reading that instead. Or something. I don't know. So our next regularly scheduled episode will be on January 18th, and it will be the 2017 Blitzies, which we're super excited about. Or I'm super excited about.
I still need to figure mine out.
Yes, and so I think we did the Blitzies last year for 2016, and we kind of just picked categories and picked games for each category. This year we're going to do a few specific categories, and then we're also each going to do a top 10. We got a lot of positive feedback when we did a top 5 list a few episodes ago. Everybody said, more lists! So we're listening.
People love lists.
People do love lists. I mean, I can't blame them. I like lists too. There's something nice about the order of things, I suppose. But, so yeah, we're going to do a top 10 of 2017, each of us, all 3 of us, and some other categories as well. And I'm excited about it. It will likely be a longer episode. It will be, it'll break our 30-minute limit because we're skipping tomorrow's episode. So I guess we're borrowing time from that episode. Oh, yay. Thank you, MU Jedi. I wonder if MU is from Missouri, University of Missouri, like in Missouri. And thank you for saying that you love the podcast. That's awesome to hear. We love making it. So it's always nice to hear that people love listening. And yeah, it's not our Kickstarter, but we want to throw some support toward the Dice Tower. But yeah, 2017 Blitzies coming on January 18th. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else specifically that I want to talk about. I considered maybe bringing up my recent plays of Fallout and or Pandemic Legacy Season 2. No spoilers. No spoilers, I promise. Not saying anything. But I don't know. Maybe I'll talk about either one of those or both in an upcoming episode.
Yeah, you can save it for that.
Yeah, save it. Y'all have to wait.
I won't have to wait too long.
Yeah, that's true. If as soon as we don't go live, you can be like, hey, what happened with those? I'm not going to spoil Pandemic Legacy for you. We are through September right now, and I kind of want to try and finish the whole thing before we record the Blitzies episode, but my husband's going to be doing some traveling, and I'm playing Pandemic Legacy with him, so I don't know if we're going to be able to finish before I have to make my top 10 list, which is problematic because it's hard to put it on the list without knowing exactly how it ends. But 3/4 of the way through, I can say it is going on my top 10 list for the year. I just don't know where. So that's not a spoiler.
Playing through September, that's more plays than a lot of other games, right?
That's very true. I, again, shout out to the BG Stats app because it's awesome. And, I mean, how did I live before I tracked my plays? Really, I just don't even know. So yeah, if I look at my insights for 2017, Pandemic Legacy Season 2 is my 5th most played game, and I've only been playing it for the past, less than 2 months.
Wow.
We started in November, but we've played it 9 times so far. Wait, that doesn't seem right. September. Did I not track
once
my...
per month?
Yeah, no, we've lost twice.
So you should have played 11?
11?
Did you play some this year?
Oh, yes. 3 of them, I think. 2 or 3 this year. So, yep, that makes sense. I was like, wait, why is it wrong? Do you know what my most played game of the year is, or did you see it in the screenshot?
I don't remember.
Okay, well, do you want to guess what it was?
King Domino?
That is accurate. Good job, you. How many times did I play King Domino in 2017?
26.
Oh gosh, no. I don't play anything that much.
Oh, okay.
14 times, and that was my most played game. And then I played Queen Domino 4 times. So if you combine them, then it's 18 plays.
I think you might have said something, and I read that.
Oh, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, no, my most played games of the year, which is not necessarily a spoiler for my top 10, King Domino with 14, Codenames Duet with 11, Near and Far with 11, Number 9 with 10, and then Pandemic Legacy with 9, but that's just for 2017, not 2018. So, my number 6 played game is Mythos Tales, which I don't like at all, but my friend really wanted to play it, and I enjoy playing games with it.
I don't even know. It's hard to remember which games came out in 2017.
That is a good point. Everything kind of blurs together at some point. And it was weird because then I was also remembering, I was like, dang, it's been 2 years since I finished Pandemic Legacy Season 1, and it doesn't feel like
really?
it was... Yeah, because it came out in fall of 2015, and my group played it. We didn't finish until, I think, January or February of 2016. But yeah, it released in the fall of 2015.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, and it's so weird because I would love to be able to compare Pandemic Legacy Season 1 and Pandemic Legacy Season 2 at some point. Spoilers or not, I don't know. But I don't remember a lot of the details of Season 1. And that's not to say that it's forgettable. There are big moments that I remember really well, but the little details don't stick as much for me. I do have the book that you fill out with all of your gameplays. I still have that in the box. So I could reference that, I suppose. But
yeah.
I
have details on my log plays. But wow, I guess
I wasn't tracking back then.
We finished it. Our first play was October 24th, 2015, and our last play was November 22nd. So we played through it pretty quickly.
Okay. That is pretty quick. Yeah, my friends and I were playing once a week And then we were playing like about 2 games a session generally.
Yeah, we did like 3 months a session or something, which would be like 3 to 6 games.
Wow. Yeah, that's impressive. And MU Jedi asked in the chat if I prefer Queen Domino over King Domino. That is an interesting question. I do own both now, and I do enjoy both. But I think I am one of the rare people that actually prefers King Domino. Whereas some people kind of hate on King Domino for its simplicity, I appreciate it and love it for its simplicity. It's elegant in a way that Queen Domino isn't. They're both approachable and easy enough to learn that you could teach either one to just about anybody, but I like King Domino's simplicity more. I still like Queen Domino and will play it. I own it. I clearly wouldn't have bought it if I didn't like it, because I played it before I purchased it. But yeah, I think I like King Domino more. Nick made a good point about Pandemic Legacy Season 1, saying that things felt a little bit similar maybe in the middle of the game, which kind of made things a little bit muddled, and I would not necessarily disagree with that, although I know that some people's plays may have gone differently, obviously, based on stuff that happened, potentially. Again, no spoilers. But I've been playing Pandemic Legacy Season 2 with my husband, and he did not play Pandemic Legacy Season 1. I know some people had kind of said, oh, I never got around to playing Season 1. Do I need to play Season 1 before I play Season 2? And I don't think you do, honestly. The stuff that Season 2 could potentially spoil for you aren't really the parts of Season 1 that felt cool and oh my gosh, like the big moments from Season 1. And again, this is technically me only having played Season 2 through September. I don't know if something else will come up in the last 3 months, but it doesn't spoil. Like, they use a word that you would have known from Season 1, but it doesn't, like, without a frame of reference, it doesn't mean anything. So I honestly think if people want to just jump into Season 2, you could do that. And then you could go back to Season 1. And I don't think that the experience would necessarily be lessened, because the story, while it is a continuation, it's not a direct, like, here's one day, here's the next day. It takes place 70 years after the fact. So it's, I think you could play Season 2 first if you wanted to, or never play Season 1 if you wanted to. I think I like Season 2 more. I think. It's hard to say without having...
Get it.
I rated Season 1 a 10 on BGG. So, again, I don't
go above that, right?
Yeah, you can't go above that. 10 is the highest. But
to re-rate.
Yeah, that's what's interesting is... Well, I think they could both be 10s and me like one more than the other, because I don't know. It's hard. I do feel like I should readjust, but it's, how do I readjust if when I played this game that I'm never going to play ever again, it was a 10 for me. It was. I really, like, that was how I felt about it. It's not like my experience has changed over time. Is it fair to compare a game to things that come out after it and then lessen its rating because of that? It just...
Well, with other games that you do play again, you do, so I don't know. It's hard because you're never going to play it again. Right.
Shut Up and Sit Down guys made a good point in their video about Pandemic Legacy Season 2, saying that they don't know if their memories of Season 1 are accurate or not. I'm paraphrasing, but I feel the same way. I don't remember all of the nitty-gritty details, and I can't ever go back and do it again. It'll never be the same. If I could buy another copy of the game and play through it, but now I know what the big twists are going to be. So it can never be the same. That's crazy and very cool. And my husband's coming down the stairs. He's like, "Zwoomp," right fast. Like, didn't want to be in the shot.
Oh, the stairs aren't in the shot in the thing, so it's okay.
Oh, good. Okay. Oh, they're in the Skype, but they're not in the... So now I'm just, like, pointing to nothing. So perfect. I forgot that the box is smaller on the stream. I've been talking a lot. surprising nobody, Ambie, talk to me. Tell me what's been going on with you and gaming.
Well, I was looking at my 2017 stats too. Do
I
you
want
want
to
to guess my most played game? I may have mentioned it.
Magic Maze?
No, that's my third most played.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. Your most played. Because that's what's tough is you guys play a lot of 18xx games, but I don't think you necessarily play the same 18xx game over and over again. Although you might have.
And they're also long, so.
I know you guys played Rolling Stock quite a bit at one point, but I don't think that would be your most played. Oh, Nick in the chat suggested Strike, and if that's accurate, is it Strike?
Yes.
That's awesome.
54 plays.
54? I'm sorry, I think I just spit on my computer monitor. That is... Bye. Have fun. 54, like, I don't even know what to do with that number. That is a lot. Although,
each play is really fast.
That's true. It is a very fast game.
And like, each time we play at least 3 times.
Oh, yeah. You have to. I think I had told you, I don't know if it was like publicly or in one of our private chats or whatever, but I had tried to order a copy of it from eBay. Or no, Amazon. And it was coming from overseas, and then it just never showed up, and so they refunded my money. And I was like, but I want the game. So earlier last week, I went on the Board Game Geek Market, and I found a copy of it on there for a reasonable price, and so I bought it, and it's on its way to me, and it's coming on Saturday, and I'm finally going to own my own copy of Strike.
Yeah.
And it was funny because when the guy messaged me, he was like, I didn't think that I would be selling this to somebody who I've seen on video before. And I was like, I guess you know you can trust me.
That's cool.
I'm not a scumbag. I don't know who he is, but he seems nice enough. And yeah, he shipped me the game, so it's coming on Saturday, and I'm very, very, very excited. I was kind of hoping to have it before New Year's, since I had a lot of people over gaming on New Year's. But I'm going to have it now. So I'll bring my copy to Blitz Con in February.
Oh, we should have a tournament.
Oh, yes, we should. Oh, guess what else I'm bringing to Blitz Con? Here, this is breaking news.
I have to guess.
You don't have to guess.
Okay. I don't have a guess.
I am bringing... I'm promising this now because I haven't made it yet, but I am bringing a re-themed version of Heartthrob called Barkthrob. That's about dogs.
Ooh. I still haven't played Heartthrob, but I want to play this one now.
Well, I'll bring regular Heartthrob too, so we can all ogle Trevor. I kind of want to go get Trevor now for people who haven't seen him. Hold on. Entertain the chat for the next 60 seconds.
Okay. I have to entertain you guys. So, I'll just go through my most played games as well. Strike was 54, then Werewords at 46, and then Magic Maze at 24, and then One Night Ultimate Werewolf at 23, which I played a bunch like last week, I think. My friend had it, and we played like 10 times in a row. And then Insider at 19, which I actually haven't played as much since Werewords.
Yeah, Werewords is better. I like Insider, but Werewords is better.
Yeah.
So, here is my Heartthrob box. Let's find Trevor, so we can show people who don't know who Trevor is. Who Trevor is.
I don't know who Trevor is.
Trevor is like, when I tell people about this game, I always use Trevor as like a frame of reference for the type of 80s stock photography boys that are in this silly game. And there's a lot of them, and they're all just stock photography. There's Max
can
and
you
Rex.
move it a little more?
Oh yeah,
sorry.
I forgot. It's to the side.
Okay.
So let's see.
Yeah. Oh, there's a dog.
Yep, there's a dog.
It's already a dog for your retheme.
Oh, there he is. I found Trevor. So if you wanted to know like what the epitome of hot boy in the 80s was, apparently it was a suit jacket, a bolo tie, and a mullet. Because there's Trevor. That is Trevor. You can't beat that, right? Like, the smolder is legit. That is the card that everyone references in regard to this game. And I am going to be making a version with dogs instead of people, because judging people based on how they look, while it can be fun when they're 80s stock photos and not real people, I think it would be more fun to decide what dog you want to pet, walk, and or adopt. But the dogs are going to have human traits, like hates Susan in HR, or yells every time the doorbell rings. So it's going to be funny, and I'm hopefully going to have all of that printed and ready to go, at least a prototype of it, of Barkthrob, by Blitz Con in February. So if people haven't gotten tickets for Blitz Con yet, they should do that. Ambie, where can they do that?
It's on Eventbrite, but you can get, you can get, why can't I? Sorry, I'm trying to type at the same time. You can get information about it at boardgameblitz.com/con, which I will paste into the chat, because I can do that.
Hooray!
Yay. Okay, so MU Jedi asked, what is the rating for that game?
Oh, I mean,
For Heartthrob?
It's pretty innocent. Like, in the original game, you're, like, choosing who you want to dance with and who you want to go on a date with. There's nothing, like, no adult content or dirtiness in it. I have played it with people who have come up with their own questions, which were slightly more adult themed. But the game itself was originally intended for, hold on, ages. Here's the rating. For all girls who like boys. And I would say in this day and age, it's for all people who like boys. Or for all people who like people. Even though all the photos happen to be of males. But, yeah. Guess which guy your opponents like best. It's ridiculous. This game, I can't even.
Yeah, I want to play.
It is way more fun than it should be. That's all I know. Okay, we've been streaming for a little over an hour now. I don't think I had anything else in particular that I wanted to mention. I do know that this is kind of standing in for our episode tomorrow that we're not doing, so I wanted to make sure we had something substantial, but I think we've done that, and I hope that for those of you who wanted a session report from my TI4 play, I covered all of the things that you wanted to hear me talk about, but if I didn't, please feel free to tweet at us or email us at boardgameblitz@gmail.com, and I would be happy to answer more questions either on Twitter or in a future episode. But yeah, Twilight Imperium gets 2 thumbs up from me. Does not beat Star Trek Ascendancy for me as far as spacey 4X games go. So. Oh yeah, it is expensive to come to San Francisco if you do not live there. That is true. Anything else you want to say, Ambie?
No, I think that's it.
So thank you very much to everyone in the chat. We had a pretty active chat tonight, which was awesome, especially considering we just announced that we were doing this stream yesterday. So we didn't want to announce it too far in advance because then people would forget. But we appreciate all.
We didn't plan it until yesterday.
That's the behind the scenes info. We hope that you all enjoyed this, and Ambie and I think both have interest in doing more live stuff going forward, but we just don't know exactly what form that's going to take yet. But if you want to see us do more live videos, either chats like this or actual playing games either on a table or in a digital tabletop space, let us know, because obviously we would like to do what you all want to see. And yeah, that's probably about it. Thank you all for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, thank you for watching there. Feel free to share this video with anybody. Who knows? I don't know. People who like Twilight Imperium, or people who are interested in it and want to hear the experience of somebody who just played it for the first time. There you go.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. We will talk to you later.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.